So very pumped to once again talk about the great sport of ski mountaineering. We're learning so much about it with so many guests on the show at the moment. And today we have got our very first American on the show, our very first North American on the show to be precise, to talk about SkiMo in that part of the world and his journey towards the Olympic Games. The number one ranked Sprint World Cup SkiMo athlete from North America across the last 2 seasons, going great guns over in the sport, and I'm so intrigued to learn about how he's going and everything else in between. It's a pleasure to welcome to Off the Podium, Arthur Whitehead. Arthur, welcome to the program.
Well, thanks, Ben. I'm excited to be here. Really excited to get to talk about SkiMo and its journey in the Olympics.
I'm excited to learn about you and the journey. We were talking a little bit about it off air and sort of where we're at with everything right now, but I'd love to just, before we get into how you got into the sport, let's start off with the big question of how is SkiMo in the US? Because I think US, Olympics, dominance, excellence, everything along those lines. This is a very fresh sport. So how is the sport right now in the US?
It's definitely, I think like it's been globally, it's been growing a lot. While the US does have like a deep history of a lot of sort of winter sports, it's not quite the same as it is in sort of a lot of the European countries in the Alps, where SkiMo has been like a really big sport for a long time. It's definitely newer here. But it's not brand new by any means. And the sport's been growing a lot in the last few years, and sort of the level of competition in the US and North America in general is sort of increased, I think, tremendously in the last few years, as sort of you get more and more athletes traveling back and forth between sort of here and competing on sort of the higher level World Cup races and racing in Europe.
And you're based in Colorado, so is this the sort of hotbed of SkiMo in the US, or are we thinking the other traditional winter areas of the country, such as Utah, upstate New York, places like that, or is it purely Colorado for SkiMo?
Colorado and Utah are definitely the, I would say, like the two epicenters for SkiMo in the US. There's definitely like a SkiMo scene elsewhere. And there's like a lot of other sort of areas in the US that have, winter sports and a lot of SkiMo racing, but it's maybe not quite to the same level or the same amount of competitions as we have in sort of Colorado and the US. And I think partially because of that, we've got those two states especially are very well represented on the US team.
Good mountains, of course, usually helps, I can imagine, with a sport such as ski mountaineering. So how do you get involved in it, Arthur? I believe you discovered the sport in college, have a bit of a background in running and backcountry skiing. I hear that. I think you combine it. But how did you actually discover that SkiMo was even a sport, and what piqued your interest with it?
Yeah, I was a runner sort of beforehand, like grew up running competitively, and then sort of moved over to mountain and trail running, and was kind of originally looking for some sport that I could, or some way to train in the winter. In the summer, like a lot of my training then would be running up and down mountains, which is a lot more complicated when there's a bunch of snow on them. But I remember hearing or learning at some point in college about Kilian Jornet, who's like one of the top ultra runners. But in the winter, what his sport was ski mountaineering, and sort of that was how my kind of first time I'd ever heard of the sport. And sort of as soon as I heard about it, was pretty intrigued. Sort of combined my passions of running up and down mountains in the summer with also I really enjoy skiing and both sort of human powered ski touring or skiing at the resort. As soon as I kind of heard about SkiMo, I was like, when can I start? This sounds amazing. It's you get to ski up mountains, run up mountains with your skis on, ski down them. What could be better than that?
I love that explanation, because I find that in personally learning about this sport over interviews that I've done on the show, and even when I discovered this sport existed when they announced it as being an Olympic sport, it's kind of, I've had the same thing, like, this sport sounds amazing. I need to learn more about it. And I'm getting that real passion through every athlete we have on this show and learning about it. Did it live up to that expectation the first time you gave it a go and were able to actually compete? Did it live up to what you were expecting?
I think so. I mean, yeah. It's, I remember from the first race I did, I was pretty hooked on it. Like it was, yeah, very, very exciting and sort of exactly what I was looking for. I mean, it's such a great way to sort of aerobically push yourself in the winter in the mountains, but also sort of versus like cross country skiing per se, you get like a little bit more sort of, I don't know about excitement, but like adrenaline with like the downhill skiing portions of it as well. Yeah, especially, I mean, when I first started, it was more of kind of our traditional disciplines, which are much longer races, and you're climbing up sort of up and down much bigger slopes than sort of the version we'll see in the Olympics. But I don't know, they're both exciting in different ways.
And this was pre it being announced as an Olympic sport too. So when you started in it, this at the moment wasn't an Olympic sport.
Yeah, it was not. So I'm trying to think. I probably started sometime around 2017 or so, and I remember pretty early on there were rumors that like SkiMo was trying to be in the Olympics. So I would say from kind of the beginning, it was kind of in the back of my mind of like, oh, maybe that'll happen. Like that would be cool if this sport I'm getting into goes to the Olympics. But yeah, obviously that wasn't sort of confirmed for a while, and yeah, I suppose it wasn't like. That certainly wasn't one of like the drivers for getting into the sport, but it was always like a really exciting possibility to have there.
Did you have other sports outside when you're talking about the running and the other forms of skiing? Were there other ones growing up? I mean, did you at any point as a young boy, Arthur, think, oh, I'd love to be an Olympian. This could be a cool dream in maybe a different sport?
I think a little bit. I'm not like, I don't remember being something I was really like fixated about. But I guess like I grew up running cross country and track or athletics. So those are obviously big, yeah, athletics is big summer Olympic sport. And I always love watching that. And yeah, had a little bit of dreams there. It's, I don't know, maybe felt a little bit more distant there. And, but yeah, I think as a young child for sure was like super excited by the Olympics, and that would be sort of a dream. But sort of as I got older and got out of that sort of running, like that sort of fell off my radar for a while. And then, yeah, kind of popped back up once started getting into SkiMo and those Olympic prospects started looking better.
If I do my math correctly, based on when you were born, you would have been about 6.5 when Salt Lake was on. You would have barely been a year old when Atlanta was on. So you were sort of almost in a unique position, Arthur, where you might not even remember too much of an Olympics in your own country, which to me just blows my mind. America just seems like a country that should have the Olympics every 10 years. You know, we're obviously about to see LA get it in a couple of years and Salt Lake return again. So, I mean, do you remember like Salt Lake? I mean, do you remember having an Olympics in the US at all in your lifetime?
Not really. Like, I mean, knew about it, but it wasn't sort of on my radar, or like I don't recall it happening sort of at the time. So it's always sort of been this foreign thing, that's something that happens somewhere else.
Yeah.
Not in the US, even though like I know we do have sort of a fairly rich history of hosting the games in the US.
But it's just overdue. It really is. LA is obviously going to, burst the bubble, and then we're seeing Salt Lake a few years after that. When it was announced that SkiMo was officially going to be an Olympic sport, then does that change your mindset much, that you've kind of got this extra goal towards, or because you're sort of progressing in the sport already, it's just almost like an added incentive to push towards, if that makes sense?
I would say it was more of the latter. Like I don't think that being announced sort of really changed my mindset towards it per se, but certainly just cool to sort of add an extra level of sort of competition to build to. And yeah, especially, I mean, starting out, I like was competing domestically for quite a while, I guess, before ever sort of competing internationally was on my radar. So I think that was kind of the case with the Olympics as well. And but sort of as I started progressing more in the sport, that's definitely been a big catalyst, and I guess extra goal to work towards, because it's really awesome competing on the World Cup and competing on the World Championships, but yeah, competing in the Olympics would for sure be next level. So that's definitely sort of added an extra carrot to chase during training and everything.
Does it also then see an increase in other people joining the sport? Like, have you seen, since you've been in the sport and then the announcement of the Olympics, a lot more people trying to transition and come across, and the sport, I guess, growing not only in the US and North America, but as you're saying, when you go into the World Cup, like I'll rephrase that, the World Cup, say earlier from this year, where you're getting sort of more people there, more interest in it than you were a couple of years ago when you were making your debut in the World Cup?
Yeah, it's definitely been like very noticeable the past few years of how much more kind of interest from outside of the sport we get in it, and I guess within the sport as well. A lot of the national federations are taking the sport way more seriously. I guess from what I've personally seen, at least on the US side, I don't think, well, there have definitely been several athletes I've met who sort of it becoming an Olympic sport has kind of was a catalyst for them to get into the sport. But for the most part, I think it was largely people were interested in it anyways. And maybe with the Olympics being there, that's kind of changed their focus somewhat. They were either competing in SkiMo or in different disciplines in SkiMo, and that sort of encouraged them to change around sort of the priorities to be more targeted towards the Olympics. But in the US, at least, I haven't seen it sort of lead to a huge influx of athletes who wouldn't be getting into the sport otherwise. But I'm really curious to see sort of this coming winter, after we sort of have the games, if sort of that extra publicity with and people being able to see it on TV, which we haven't really seen in the US yet. If that just introduces, I mean, I'm sure it will introduce the sport to a whole lot more people, and hopefully that'll encourage a lot more people to give it a try.
I keep comparing it to sport climbing journey in the Summer Olympics, and sort of how that started and how that's growing. And then I've also loosely compared it to breaking, in the fact that, you know, a lot of people weren't familiar with it. We saw it, you know, obviously two different journeys of what we're seeing it. But I think maybe the real key one to look at it, Arthur, and where maybe it probably will end up with, is something like freestyle skiing. And the fact that when that made its Olympic debut in the early 90s, it was obviously a sport that had been around. There were World Cups. It had even been a demonstration sport in the Olympics at that point. And then now we just think of the Winter Olympics, and freestyle skiing is as part of it as alpine skiing and bobsleigh. Like, it's just the normal part of the Olympics. And I feel that ski mountaineering probably will also go on that path as well, that like this is a sport that's existed. There's been a World Cup. It's been around for a little bit. And now once people see this and see how amazing it is, that it's going to continue that growth. So that if we fast forward to the next US Winter Olympics in Salt Lake in 2034, that we might have these additional disciplines, right? We might have a vertical, we might have other areas, and then Americans are just going to be absolutely obsessed with it like the rest of the world, because seriously, I think this sport is really going to catch the world's attention in a few months' time.
Yeah, I mean, that's certainly my hope. I mean, I think it's obviously I'm a little biased, but I think it's an amazing sport, and one of the best winter sports there are out there, both sort of as a competitor and from a spectator standpoint. I think it's really exciting to watch. So yeah, it's certainly my hope that it's going to kind of become a fixture of the Olympics, Winter Olympics moving forward, and yeah, it's going to be something hopefully people are looking forward to watching on TV every 4 years, or if it gets more popular, you know, maybe watching World Cups and such between Olympic cycles.
Well, speaking of World Cups, you touched about how you went overseas and pursued that a little bit more. You made your World Cup debut in 2023 in Andorra. Now, I need to ask about this, Arthur, because I've always been fascinated by the country of Andorra. It's one of these ones that I feel we never talk about on the show. Nobody really talks about Andorra unless you're from Andorra. So can you just give me a brief overview of the country of Andorra? Like, what was it like? That is a country that you make your World Cup debut in.
Yeah, I was really cool to get to go there sort of for my first World Cup. But so Andorra is this micronation kind of squished between France and Spain in the Pyrenees. It's quite small, but very mountainous country, and pretty densely populated. But it's always been a really cool venue to go back to and race, not only for it being sort of the first place I ever went to race internationally, but the locals are always super into hosting the competitions there. It's really cool to see, like you're driving through the capital, and you see like posters everywhere for SkiMo World Cup. And always have lots of spectators coming up there. But yeah, it's just like it's a gorgeous country, super super pretty, and obviously being so. I mean, it's all mountains, so that's like a big part of the sort of lifestyle and the culture there. So SkiMo kind of fits in with that. I mean, obviously, it's not as big as like downhill skiing in the winter, but you definitely see a lot of people out there practicing it.
I love hearing
which
that.
is really cool.
We recently talked about on one of our news episodes. They had the games of micronations, and Andorra competed in that, and we sort of all love these little small nations and places like that. I'm gonna preempt a question I'm gonna ask towards the end here, Arthur. I don't know if this might have an answer from later on, but when it comes to little things like culture in Andorra, what do they eat in Andorra? Like, what's an Andorran restaurant when it comes to food? Because every country's got its own unique cuisine, right? Does Andorra have one that stood out to you?
I'm trying to think. It seems like it's somewhere sort of in between like French and Spanish. Definitely like draws pretty heavily from both of them. Um, One thing that always struck me, and I don't know if this is more specifically to like the town where that's hosted these World Cups the past few years, but they always have a lot of like Argentine restaurants there, and a lot of things named after places in Argentina, and including some like Argentine cuisine there, which kind of threw me off a little bit. But as I have a bunch of family from Argentina, so that was always sort of a nice. It's always nice to see that, and or seeing that almost feels like home in a different way.
Fantastic.
And kind of not what I was expecting seeing like in the middle of the Europe. Yeah, in the middle of Europe.
And all of a sudden you got that, particularly in a place like Andorra, right? Like it's sort of like, oh, I wasn't expecting this. There you go. Very interesting. I like hearing that. I mean, just looking at also where the World Cup of SkiMo goes, obviously there's very traditional European nations that we're talking about here, France, Switzerland, Norway, Italy, all of those sort of places as well. But there's a World Cup in Azerbaijan, which is obviously maybe not your most traditional of winter nations, but they've obviously got a lot of mountains there in Azerbaijan as well. But so the traditional, like Spain are pretty good at SkiMo as well, aren't they? Like I don't often associate winter in Spain, but they're
neither did I.
Right, exactly. So, I mean, what do you...
They actually have some big mountains there.
I know, right? Yeah. Which, I mean, I guess you might not be able to answer this question, but what makes them so good at ski? Is it just the mountains? Is that just, this is what Spanish do in winter? They like to do ski mountaineering instead of other sports.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know for sure, but I mean, I think part of it's a bit regional. And if you're sort of in the mountainous regions of Spain, like that's kind of the obvious sport to do in winter. But yeah, I don't know. It definitely threw me off kind of my first few years. I was like, oh, I never thought of Spain as like a big sort of winter sport country. But yeah, they have very strong SkiMo racers, and yeah, a lot of really good athletes.
They're passionate people. They did bid for a Winter Olympics this millennium, and I think figure skating they've won a couple of medals in recently as well. So they've got some stuff there going on for them. But looking at your previous season that we've sort of wrapped up in April of this year. So as I said in the top of the show, you were the number one ranked North American in the Sprint World Cup the last two seasons as well. I will add on that as well. The test event in Bormio, though, in Italy, where the event will be held next year in the Olympics, you were 29th. And I was reading in an interview that you did after that about the course that you said that you enjoyed it and you think it's one of the better ones that is currently out there on the course. I mean, tell us a little bit about the course and your expectations of what it could be like come February should you be on the team.
Yeah, so I guess the thing that like really stood out about the course in Bormio, and I presume what it'll look like in this coming February too, is it's much more sort of built up than I guess a lot of the other sprint and relay courses we have. Lots of big bank turns on the descents, and sort of pretty like impeccably built transition platforms. And I don't know, it's interesting. Like part of the draw of SkiMo is it's kind of a wild sport, but like you spend a lot of time in nature, but the sprint is kind of really focuses in on kind of the athleticism part of it. And I like that this course kind of is built up a bit more than you'd expect to see to really help sort of hone in on kind of like the athletic feats of it. Not that like competing on a big wild backcountry course isn't super athletic, but it's interesting because I think it kind of allows the athletes to sort of more focus in on the pure like sport aspects of it. Um, but also is just like different than what we're used to seeing, and fun having some like fun terrain to ski down with jumps and bank turns, and almost feels like you're on like a bit of a ski cross type course as opposed to like a really poorly set slalom course, I guess.
Because I was going to say on the Olympics website, they've sort of written here that, as you just say, it's sort of almost likened to a ski cross course more so than an alpine descent there, which I guess, are there many others like that out there, or was this something very new to all of you when you first went on this course?
So every race course is obviously a little different. And some of them have had sort of some more built up features with like jumps or rollers or certain aspects that you might see kind of similar to a ski cross type course. But definitely never to the same degree as we saw in Bormio. So as kind of taking some of the aspects we've seen in other courses and just amping it up to that next level, I think.
How, in terms of your last season, Arthur, we're sitting here obviously talking sort of in the middle of last season and going into next season, but how did you feel you went last season? 37th ranked overall in the Sprint World Cup. You were 35th in the World Championship in the sprint race as well. I mean, satisfied with those results? Was it looking for more? And how do you think it's sort of tracking, leading you into what's coming next in the next few months?
I wouldn't say satisfied, maybe happy. I don't know. It's like looking at my sort of progression year over year. It's definitely my best results to date, but it felt like still had a lot of room for improvement, which is, I mean, it's certainly nice to be sort of where I am and know that like my ceiling is, or I'm not at my ceiling by any means. So definitely looking for some further improvements next year and hopefully just like a little bit more consistency. It seemed like most races all had some little technical issue or equipment issue or something. So happy sort of that I, with all that in mind, was able to finish as well as I did for the season. But yeah, definitely hoping for some stronger results next season and a bit more consistency.
So in terms of that, it's probably not an easy answer for it, Arthur, but like what do you work on? Like what are the things that you are focusing on right now leading into these coming months, which are obviously going to be a little bit important for qualifying for a certain event in February?
Yeah. I mean, one of the things with SkiMo is there's so many different aspects to it to practice. And I've been really trying this summer to focus in on all the different sides of it. I mean, you have the sort of the pure fitness and being able to get up the hill as quickly as you can, which has kind of been something what I've trained the most in summers in the past. I guess it's easy to work on that sort of cardio and power in the gym or riding a bike or running. And then sort of the two other like main aspects are being able to ski downhill quickly. It's kind of a smaller portion of the race than like the uphill is, but it's still a very, very crucial part of it. So last month was out in Oregon with the team training on Mount Hood, where they've got like a ski area there is open sort of throughout most of the summer. So we spent a lot of time downhill training and just running lots and lots of gates to try and eke out those few extra tenths of a second or seconds by improving downhill performance. And like that was definitely a big change for me this year. Haven't really done any summer skiing leading up to previous seasons, and definitely haven't trained sort of the downhills that specifically with training on ski gates and such. So that's been a big change. And the other thing is like transitions. It seems kind of silly. It's like just taking your skis on and off your feet and putting them on your backpack or taking your skins off. But it's such a crucial part of the sport. And maybe it's not the sexiest part of training, just sitting in your living room or standing in your living room, practicing stepping in and out of your skis, but yeah, spend a lot of time doing that as well.
Hey, I mean, if you can sit there and just watch like Netflix and just do it, like, I mean, why not, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm just training for the
Yeah,
Olympics,
for sure.
While I'm watching Happy Gilmore too. I mean, what's the harm in that, right? Like, but I mean, that's
Exactly.
the way I've seen it and sort of seen the footage and sort of the way I look at it. Like, is that almost likened to like a pit stop in Formula One, right? Like, I mean, it seems on paper like a simple thing of just changing tires, right? But I mean, seconds can cost you a race. Like, I mean, you can put a ski on wrong, I can imagine, change some skins wrong. That's going to cost you enough time that you're going to drop significantly back in the field, particularly in 3 minutes in a sprint race.
Oh, absolutely. It's, I think one of those things where you're not going to win the race based on having like good transitions, but you could definitely lose it if you have a bad one. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, each of those transitions are between like 5 and 10 seconds a piece. So like that adds up to like and you have 3 of those over the course of a sprint race. So it's like maybe 20 seconds out of like a 3-minute race, not a huge portion of it, but the margins are very tight. So if you lose 1 second, like often that's like the difference between, getting through the qualification rounds or that could be a couple places easy and see whether you'll advance to your next heat and whatnot. So it's seemingly small, but super important.
Make sure you get through that one. I actually haven't asked this to a SkiMo athlete yet. And I always like to ask this in different sports because there's always a different answer, no matter who I ask this to. But is there much trash talking in SkiMo? Like, are you out there on the course and like giving each other shit when you're in the transitions? Like, can you do it? And if so, who are the countries who are worse at this, Arthur? Who are the ones who are trash talking out there on the courses the most to really try and get under your skin?
I don't think so, really. I mean, I found in general, like SkiMo is a very like, obviously everybody's super competitive and wants to do as well as they can. But like most people out there are kind of friends with each other. And yeah, even if you're trying your hardest to be faster than someone else out there, I haven't really experienced any shit talking or anything. I think people are pretty just trying to more focused on just doing theirs perfectly and getting out before you rather than trying to make you screw up yours.
Okay. I like sort of, there's some sports where we find that, and there are others where like we've just discovered like you wouldn't expect there to be trash talking in some sports. And like, wow, okay, There you go. That sort of blows your mind with that. I was reading, I always love when a National Olympic Committee or any sort of organization does a good part of my job for me with research. And I'm praising Team USA right now for an amazing article on their website about the qualifying process for SkiMo for Milano Cortina and reading sort of what it's going to take for you guys to get there and who's going to basically go there. So from what I'm reading, essentially right now it is looking likely for Team USA to get slots for Milano Cortina. It's going to come down to the relay slots in the World Cup in Utah to get the quota, where in order to get this, you have to be the number 1 ranked team from your continent, which is up against Canada, and you need to finish above them. And based on where things are sitting right now, Canada are in 12th overall in the world. You are 1 point behind them in 13th. So essentially what we're saying here, Arthur, is come the World Cup, which is in Utah in December, Team USA has to beat Canada. That is like the number 1 goal in order to get these quota spots. Is that how it's got to work?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, like the qualification was sort of all over, or it was like the process was like all of last season plus the very beginning of this coming season, and we fighting tooth and nail sort of throughout to sort of set ourselves up in a good position. But we're pretty much neck and neck with Canada right now, and maybe wouldn't have anticipated a year ago that it would come down to this one race. But yeah, it's now sort of we've got one race in December, and we beat Canada, we get to send a team to the Olympics. If they beat us, they get to send a team.
Wow.
So it's a little high pressure, I guess, but definitely kind of cool to have it all boiled down into this one race.
Like a playoff Super Bowl in a way, kind of going on that way. I mean, there's always a rivalry, obviously, between USA and Canada, but I mean, of course, that makes it extra special. But then even then, say USA get that quota, it's obviously not a simple case. If you're on that team and you help qualify it, you're not automatically selected. As we know, generally you qualify a quota and then it's down to the committee and the team to send you there. How are you feeling on that level, Arthur? Because obviously I realize that the individual side of things, you're maybe tracking a little bit better, but we've got other athletes maybe in the relay that are tracking a little bit better. Like, how are you feeling? And what do you have to do to make sure that you're the one on that plane in Italy if USA get that spot?
Yeah. I mean, as an American athlete, this, I guess, has been one of the more frustrating things we've dealt with this past year is our Olympic committee still hasn't published how they're going to decide who goes from the US. So I've heard rumors of sort of what may be the selection criteria, but nothing's finalized yet. So, it's going to be only one man and one woman would be competing if we qualify that relay spot. So we don't know exactly how that'll be determined. I mean, the sprint's definitely my stronger of the two Olympic disciplines versus the relay. So a lot of my focus has just been be as good in that discipline as I can while still, holding my own in the relay. And it's an interesting situation because sort of we will qualify if we get the spot, it'll be qualified through the relay, but the athletes who go for that go to the Olympics and compete in the two different disciplines, both the relay and the sprint, which are similar, but not the best in one of those disciplines isn't always the best in the other one. So it's, kind of tricky figuring out sort of who or how it's decided which one of those athletes goes. And I know a lot of the other nations, like how that was going to be decided, that was decided like before last season even started. So it was very clear for those athletes going into the last World Cup season, I need to do this to qualify for the Olympics. Whereas for us, it was just like, well, let's focus on getting the spot first and foremost, and then just be as fast as we can. And hopefully that works well with our selection criteria.
It's very fascinating though, because it almost seems like by qualifying the relay team, knowing that you're in there and that you are then eligible to put athletes in the individual event, it almost seems reverse for, say, I'm thinking of like a snowboard cross. I remember back in Beijing, Australia kind of had an opposite situation where we had our individual athletes and we'd won a medal in the World Championships in the snowboard cross. But individually, we put better athletes in the relay those Olympics than the ones who won the medal because they had performed better in the individual events, if that makes sense. So it's sort of interesting to think that this is the opposite. Like, do we take our best relay competitor who might help us get a better result in the relay but maybe won't do too well in the individual, or do we take an individual who's going to do very well in that, maybe not so? Like, that is a very interesting situation and a complication that you're all facing, they're facing, and the fact that you don't know how the bloody hell they're going to do it, I'm sure just adds all the extra bloody pressure, Arthur. Jesus.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, it is interesting. It's like, well, do you take the person who's the best at one and maybe less good at the other, or whoever's like on average best at both of them, or so I mean, it's definitely arguments to be made one way or the other, but I guess for me, I've tried to tune out some of that, just so it can be, if you get too focused in on sort of those unknowns, it's hard to stay focused, I guess. So just focusing on the process and just making sure I'm set up to be as strong as I am come December, or as strong as I can be.
And in December, so this is in Solitude in Utah. Is this the first time that the US has ever had a SkiMo World Cup?
So I believe we had one in maybe like 2005 or something.
Right.
So yes, we have had one previously, but it was a long time ago. And the sport's obviously changed a lot since then. And so, I mean, I think most of us are kind of viewing it as our first World Cup, but I think that's not technically correct.
It's exciting though. I mean, for starting in Andorra to being able to now come and compete at home, right? And Utah, not that far away from Colorado either. So, and just gives you the extra home crowd advantage to get those extra points to beat Canada as well, right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, it's super, super motivating to have that at home and be able to have, more friends and family come to watch. And it's like a venue we've sort of, us Americans have raced at a bunch. We've had a lot of races there in the past. So even if it's not precisely where I'm from, it certainly feels a lot more like home for us. And, for once, we're not the ones traveling across the halfway across the world to go compete. So it'll be kind of nice to have those roles flipped a little bit. Obviously, it's a lot closer for the Canadians as well than they're used to traveling. But yeah, it's we're definitely. I mean, personally, I'm super excited that we get to have a World Cup here and get to show off sort of the skiing and the SkiMo scene we have here to all of the other nations.
Probably not a question you know the answer to, and given that we don't even know officially SkiMo will be part of the 2034 Olympics, but do you feel this is the course that they would look at should it be included in the Salt Lake Olympics in 2034, that this is where they would host the SkiMo?
I don't know for sure, but I think it would definitely be sort of one of the top sort of contenders. Yeah, so I mean, we're quite close to Salt Lake there, and yeah, it's one of the venues that they would be looking at for sure.
You're originally from the East Coast, from Massachusetts, if I'm not mistaken. Just in terms of when it comes to rooting for sports teams, do you take on all the Colorado teams? Do you take on some Utah teams, or are you sort of a proud New Englander, go for all the Boston teams and make sure they're always part of your teams?
I mean, I guess if I was hard pressed, I'd probably be cheering for the Boston teams. But despite being an athlete myself, honestly, I've never been very caught up with sort of at least American pro sports like basketball and football and such. I mean, would watch a little bit, but was never like a huge Boston Red Sox fan or whatever. But if I had to choose a team, it would be
okay. All right.
Boston.
I know generally people from like that area are very passionate about the Boston team, so I just thought we'd.
Boston is a big sports town for sure.
Just a bit, yes, and they make you know it very well.
It's pretty fanatic about it.
They go that. But I mean, outside of your athletics career, though, your profession, if I'm not mistaken, Arthur, you design solar panels for spacecraft. Now, I want to know about this. Tell me about this. How do you get involved? And does that feel pretty cool to look up in the sky and go, there's a solar panel up there, I designed that?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely kind of a cool to know. Yeah, it's sort of designing stuff for satellites, and cool to know that some stuff I've worked on is sort of orbiting Earth, sort of up in space. So that's yeah, I guess it kind of feels kind of like my day to day of like I can't be a pro SkiMo racer. It's just not really feasible currently.
Yes, until it's bigger after next year, of course.
Exactly.
Yes.
So it's sort of the day job to fuel the dream, but for sure it's it's engaging work, and it's definitely cool to be sort of working with. I don't know, like I like pushing myself to my body's extremes, and on the flip side, like at work, I'm designing things for some of the most extreme environments out there, like surviving space. So some parallels there for sure.
Does that mean that you like have NASA on speed dial? Do you have to like always consult with them to make sure that these are fitting on there, or is it more sort of private companies, not necessarily NASA?
I mean, it varies a little bit, but yeah, I've done some work for NASA in the past. Yeah.
That's pretty cool. And you being that sort of analytical mindset, that very technical mindset, can you translate that into SkiMo? Can you use that mentality from your day-to-day job into your sport?
Oh, for sure. Like I definitely have like an engineer's mind and do apply that. I mean, after like every SkiMo race, I'm like in Excel, like pulling all my splits from the different aspects of the course and comparing, like pulling everyone else's splits and seeing not just like, oh, I felt like I could have gone faster here, but really drilling down and sort of getting numbers of like, oh, well, I lost on average like half a second in this portion. I really need to be focusing some more training to that like specific portion of the race. So, I mean, that I think is for sure like the most glaring example of sort of where I bring that into my training.
Makes me happy. I love a good Excel spreadsheet, Arthur. So that makes me very happy to kind of do that. So good to know. I'm gonna think about that when I'm watching you next year in Milano Cortina. Before we get to our wrap up questions, one other thing. This also can maybe tie into one of the questions I'm about to ask you. But I did read a great fact about you, that you like to eat ice cream every day. Every day. This isn't just a once a week treat. Every day. What's your go-to ice cream, Arthur? And what is it about ice cream that you love so much?
Oh, well, I'm a big Ben and Jerry's fan.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I like to change up the flavors, but if I had to choose just one, it would be chocolate chip cookie dough for sure.
Ooh, Good answer. Good answer.
Mm.
And does this help in the train? Like, I mean, I don't know if ice cream really helps in training, but maybe there's a secret to it that it does.
I mean, obviously, sports nutrition is a very sort of intricate topic, but with supporting a high training volume, sort of my number one priority when it comes to nutrition is just getting enough food, and it's maybe not the absolute best way, and I'm not aiming for for ice cream to be sort of a main source of nutrition for me. But at the end of the day, if you need to pound some more calories, it's pretty easy way to get a lot more in.
Pretty nice way to do it. And I'm just saying,
it just tastes so delicious.
Exactly. So. And come on now, Arthur, sponsorship opportunities. When you leave Italy with a gold medal around your neck, right? They're going to give up on giving late night TV show hosts their own ice cream flavor. Give it to an Olympic gold medalist in SkiMo, and you'll be set for life. Ben and Jerry's will be like your best friend forever.
Oh, that'd be a dream come true.
Yeah. Come on. They're big listeners.
Almost more so than the gold medal.
Yeah, exactly. That's the only reason why you're doing it now, to get your own ice cream flavor of Ben and Jerry's, right?
Yeah.
That's the incentive to go to get Olympic gold. We always got to find these extra avenues for it. Arthur, we always like to close out with a set of get-to-know yourself questions. The same to every single athlete. We like to kind of keep it spread out there right now. So I'm going to start with the number one thing that you never leave home without when traveling to a competition.
Ooh, caffeine gels. I love caffeine when I'm racing. Okay. So having, I don't know, energy gels with a bunch of caffeine in them is definitely something I always make sure is in my race bag.
That works. So I always love this. This thing I love about SkiMo athletes is your little backpack that you've got. So basically, lot of caffeine gels are in that when you're competing.
Oh, yeah.
Good to know. Are there ice cream caffeine gels? Can you sort of like get a flavor there or something like that to kind of balance the two?
I usually keep that for afterwards. Maybe not the best pre-race, but it's a great recovery.
Good answer. All right. You basically answered a question in this. We'll get to that. A tradition or superstition that you follow before every big competition?
Oh, that's a tough one. I try and stay away from any too much. I guess just that's one thing I've learned with all the traveling for different races is like every competition is like a little different. And sort of before every race, I try not to get too stuck in superstitions, because if I'm not able to make that happen before a race, I don't want that to like throw me off mentally. So maybe my biggest superstition is like staying flexible and not being too tied to like having that one perfect thing that I have every day before breakfast or something, or before racing.
Definitely that counts. That's definitely a superstition. I'll
not quite as fun, but yeah.
You'll be surprised at some of the answers we get with that one, Arthur. What is a song that is on every one of your pre-competition playlists, no matter what?
Oh man.
I've stumped him. I love this.
I mean, this is kind of like my last one of I try not to have it too set.
Well, we could also then ask then, what's a genre? Do you have a genre? Like, does a certain genre maybe help you rather than a song?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'd say varies a little bit year to year and like race to race. But recently I've definitely been listening to more like house music to kind of pump me up for races and to, lively, energetic sort of thing. But it varies a little bit.
I like that. No, you've got to change the Spotify list up every now and then, right? To kind of, really vary it out there. The most unexpected or funny direct message that you have ever received? And you're not allowed to answer getting an interview request from an Australian podcast either.
I mean, I remember getting one year at a race was from some medical professionals telling me that one of my teammates was in an ambulance. That was pretty unexpected, and like seeing that in my Instagram like DMs was not quite where I was expecting where that to come from.
I hope you saw that pretty quickly and didn't see it like 3 months later. Oh shit, he was in a hospital.
I did see it the day of, luckily.
Right, okay. I've been wondering where he's been for the last 3 months. Oh, he's been in hospital. Was he okay? Were they okay?
Yeah, she ended up being okay, but Yeah.
That's good. That's what we want to hear then. That's all right then. I sort of, again, this is why maybe I preempted earlier, but it could be from a different part of the world. The weirdest thing that you have ever eaten at an international competition, and did you like it?
Ooh. Weirdest thing I've had in a competition.
We didn't get that from Andorra, so I'm assuming there was nothing too weird there.
I'm trying to think of anything specifically that stands out, but for sure, like the most unique. Oh, for sure. Traveling to Norway to race. They're really big on their. I'm trying to remember what it's called. Torfisk, maybe. It's like dried fish.
Dried fish. Okay.
Personally, I wasn't a huge fan. I hope I'm not offending any Norwegians, but they were like very big on that there. And it's cool traveling around. You'd see like driving along the coast there, like they're big racks where they're like drying out the fish for this, which is a very popular snack there.
Yeah. Okay. That's a bit interesting. We actually had, I'm preempting. So I've recorded this interview before. I've recorded this one with you, but we're airing it after yours. So this is kind of almost like a teaser for one we're going to have. We just recently had a guest answer in this section that they had Rocky Mountain oysters, and they weren't aware of what they were when they had them. So they had a fun time discovering halfway through when it was in their mouth what that actually was.
I learned what those were before ever having the opportunity to try them. So unluckily, managed to avoid those.
Yes, I'm gonna leave that open-ended so that people can listen to that interview to discover what they actually are if they're unaware of what that is. You might have already answered this. I think you've already answered this. Your ultimate guilty pleasure meal after a big competition. I'm assuming it's ice cream.
Oh, 100%.
Yep.
I mean, don't feel that guilty about it, but
if you're eating it every day, Arthur, I'm assuming that you're fine with it, you know.
Mostly.
Yeah. Hopefully. If you could swap sports for a day with another Olympian, what event would you choose and how do you think you'd go?
Ooh, that's tough. I mean, it's easy for me to say like I'd want to swap with like a different skiing discipline because I love all aspects of skiing, but that's, not quite so fun. So maybe I'll go with breaking because it's super fun and different. I don't think I would do very well though.
Hey, we might have had certain athletes from our country who also didn't do too well, and yet we're proud of her. So, it doesn't matter. You at least try. That's all we like to say. But yeah,
100%.
I like that. Breaking. You could combine breaking and SkiMo, could you? Like make it a triathlon?
Yeah, it looks kind of like ski ballet, but like...
Yes! Oh, ski ballet. Bring it back. I'm an advocate for ski ballet. What a sport. That needs to come back. Yeah. Love this question, and we always get a bit of help for this one if you struggle with this one. If your Olympic journey were a movie, Arthur, what would the title be, and who would play you?
Oh man, that's tough.
We can help you out. So we go to ChatGPT and we get some ideas, and then they also suggest a few actors. I don't know if there's ever been an actor that anybody's ever compared you to or anything like that in the past.
I mean, I'm curious what some of ChatGPT's suggestions are.
So there's one here which, like, I can see it, but I don't think we go with him because he's kind of been cancelled. Armie Hammer. I kind of see a bit of Armie Hammer there, but we don't really talk about Armie Hammer anymore. He's somebody we don't like to talk about. Joel Kinnaman, who I'm pretty sure I know who that is, and he does have a bit of resemblance to you, so I think that kind of works. Some other ones here they've mentioned. Sebastian Stan. I mean, Sebastian Stan can play anyone. He's played everyone from Tommy Lee to Donald Trump. So, I mean, he's definitely got range. Scott Eastwood. Yeah, I can see a bit of it there. Ansel Elgort. Yeah, I can see a bit of that. That works. They've even got Jake Gyllenhaal here for you. So,
I mean, that would be fun, but that's maybe too flattering.
Yeah. Oh, well, hey, take it while you can. Now, the ideas for titles, again, they sort of fall a bit flat on some of these ones recently, but I've chosen one here which I think sounds pretty good. They've gone for a title here, Avalanche Heart. I think that kind of sounds a bit interesting. And we always like to get a mock poster. And as we always say for our audio listeners, go to our YouTube channel and watch our video version right now. But this is the mock poster that they've got there for you, Arthur. Avalanche Heart.
Wow.
Defy the odds. There's a bald eagle flying above your head. There's American flags. Like, I mean, that's not too bad, is it?
Oh no, we love that. That's great.
Almost looks like you're trying to like fight off that eagle. Like you've got your
Yeah.
pick hammer and you're like, get away from me, bald eagle. I'm going to attack you. So, yeah, not bad. That's one of the better ones, I think, that ChatGPT's given us. So, Avalanche Heart coming through to a cinema near you, basically. People can check that out. The one question that you're tired of being asked, Arthur, and what's the one that you wish people would ask you instead?
I mean, it might have been one you asked earlier.
That's fine. We get it a lot.
The pre-race rituals one a bunch, and I've never found my not having a ritual to be a very satisfactory answer.
We always get called out at least once in these interviews. That's why we ask it, so I can improve as a podcast. So thank you for that.
But I understand a lot of athletes have some pretty exciting or interesting pre-race rituals, so it makes sense.
Is there one that like you wish people would ask you though? Like, is there an aspect of your sport, of your life, or something like that, which you feel deserves to be told maybe a little bit more?
Oh, I don't know. Like I've gotten the like if you could swap places with another Olympian or another like professional athlete, like that one I think is really cool, and it's kind of a fun window into sort of what someone would be doing otherwise, like if they aren't so focused on sort of like that one sport. But yeah, I don't know.
That is an interesting. I do find that an interesting one sometimes, because like I also love that correlation where, say, like as a winter athlete, a lot of people straight away go like, "Oh, summer sport. I'm sick of the snow. I want to be a surfer. I want to swim. I want to do that." But then on the flip side of that, you do often find a lot of summer athletes like, "Yeah, I'd like to ski. I'd like to, get in a bobsled or something like that." So I kind of often love that transition when the respective athlete goes to their, counterpart in the different Olympics. So it is interesting.
Oh, for sure. Everyone likes the opposite of what they're doing.
Grass is always greener, right? That's the thing, that's kind of how it works. Yeah. The last one, the big deep one here, Arthur. What is one lesson you've learnt from losing that you think has shaped you more than winning?
Practice for sure. Like I think the biggest sort of takeaways I've found, like had a number of like pretty frustrating races where it's either sort of equipment issues or screwing up a transition or whatever. It's kind of a boring takeaway, but just really learning to be really in tune with my equipment and know the ins and outs and know sort of what can cause it to fail and how to avoid that. Or, if I screwed up a certain aspect of like throwing my skis on my pack, like just, and that can lose the race for you right there easily. So it's just practicing that. And that's what gets me through the sessions of sitting in front of my TV in the living room, just stepping in and out of the skis there. So it's always, definitely some good fuel for the fire for the boring bits of training.
I can imagine if you're just having people over to watch Netflix or something just like that. And you just, what are you doing, Arthur? Oh, just practicing with Olympics. Oh, taking the feet in and out of the skis, trying over and over again, right? Like good dinner party conversation, Oh,
yeah.
That makes
super exciting to watch.
Makes it very exciting. Arthur, mate, it's been an absolute pleasure to learn about you, your journey, everything along those lines. If people want to follow your journey, social media, websites, anything along those lines, where can people follow you in between now and the Olympics and beyond?
Instagram's definitely the best place to follow me. I'm just trying to make sure I don't get my handle wrong.
Get it correct. Yep.
It's Arthur Wolf _ski. But I always try and keep some tidbits on sort of my life and training and racing, everything up there. So good place to follow along.
Well, we always praise the SkiMo athletes on this show because, you and I were talking a little bit off air about how engaging and how accepting so many SkiMo athletes have been about coming on the show. But I always praise you guys for just the social media content. I think that you guys are doing some great jobs out there, showcasing the sport, your journeys, websites out there. Even the SkiMo Federation have got some great videos out there. So for a new sport, they're doing all the right things. You're doing all the right things to, I guess, engage people. And as I say, hopefully grow this sport beyond Milano Cortina. We don't want this to be breaking. We want this to be more than a one-off, don't we?
100%. Yeah. So future looks bright for sure. But we'll see.